Well, yes, Xoli, the two deputies, not only for women but also for the police, have also arrived at home. As you can see already, they are supported by the same residents that we saw a little earlier, so they're singing at this point. But the major point at this time is to give the support to the family that is so needed. And you remember that this family has been asking for answers, and as they ask for those answers, they will be able to get that across, especially to the deputy of police, which is Dr. Poli Boshielo, who should be able to give an update in terms of how far is the investigation and if there's any signs of the fact that there will be some assistance for this family and they will finally get the answers that they were hoping for in terms of what really happened in the events leading up to the passing of the 14-year-old. So we are expecting, of course, that will be part of the conversation that will take place in there. As you can see behind me, there's also a brigade which is also there to support the family to ensure that if they are faced with a situation like this, which is a GBV case, they will be there to support the family in terms of counseling and the kind of support that they can provide in anyhow. We saw also earlier on where the Department of Social Development also came to the family to support in terms of the grocery and assistance, and now the family will be getting the information that they solely hope for. We understand that also there is a district commissioner of police that is going to be here, district commissioner of Johannesburg. Now that's very important because remember, the investigation is going to be done within the province as well as national, and we know that before they got here, they were able to go to the scene where the incident took place, which is not far, of course, from here. And also you will remember that that's the same scene where the families went and they could see that tragic incident that took place, which is why the family did spoke about the fact that counseling is very much needed. So that's one of the things that they're also looking forward to, which we understand that they are going to be discussing in this conversation that they will have with the deputies that have arrived.
Let's stay with you for a moment and you just continue beaming those visuals for us and we'll just talk over them. This happened at the weekend, we understand. For viewers who may not have had an interaction with this story, just take us back to how did little Likhona disappear and when it was that her body was found.
Well, Xoli, Likhona was basically a 14-year-old that lived in this area, which is the Durban Deep. Now, we understand that on Saturday afternoon, she was home, and she would then ask or leave her homestead with an idea that she is going out with friends. Now, we find this out in a conversation with the family that has explained to us that the last time they saw Likhona was on a Saturday afternoon when she was leaving with friends. And in that afternoon, she never really made it back home. As a result, Xoli, they then started worrying. But the next day, when they realized that she really didn't make it, they then went out in search of where she was or what had happened to her. And from that search, we understand that Granny, because Likhona lives with her granny. So her granny would then ask the uncle, who wasn't necessarily here at the time, and they asked if he can go looking for Likhona. In his search, he then found out that they had found a body in an open veld not far from home. And this is where the family was called in, as some of the people that were there had identified that this could potentially be her. Now, we understand that the first person that was able to see or saw that there was a child that was laying in an open veld was a person that was from the area who was basically getting recycled material. And this person then started calling out for the community to come see what had taken place. And then from that time, we understand then that some people were able to identify, and that's when they started calling Likhona's family, the Fose family, to come see what had taken place in that area. And that's when then they were able to identify that this is indeed the 14-year-old. And from there we understand that the police had also come in to be able to do their work, and the community just still very much shocked and concerned about what had taken place in the area.
It is a shocking story and a very shocking development indeed. Talk to us about how the community has reacted to this story throughout the day. You have been stationed there for some time.
Well, Kali, so since this morning, what we have seen is some of the police within the area. Now, you remember that this incident took place in Roodepoort, so the case will then be recorded at the Roodepoort police station. And now what we have heard is that we have already seen some of the police officers and heard that they came to the family to sort of discuss how the case is going in terms of the details and the work that they were doing in the background. Already yesterday, we heard from the Gauteng police spokesperson, Dima Makatso, who was speaking to us about the fact that they had already opened a case of murder. Now, they officially came to the family, Koli, to explain that they had already opened that case and just to give details in terms of how far the investigation was. And after they had left, we know that they continued to also speak to the family about the relevant details. But we know that this is something very important. Of course, what has taken place here is very concerning. As a result, we know that the National has also come in, and this is why you're seeing now the police deputy that has come in to also give update in terms of how far the investigation is. Now, during the day, we also saw, Oli, the Department of Social Development. Now, their part in all of this is to assist the family, especially when it comes to counseling, especially when it comes to things like groceries, as well as the planning in terms of where to from here. Now, we saw them coming in. We saw them having a conversation with the family. We understand also that the family still has to go to the mortuary where they will be able to continue with that process, which we understand that it will also continue to make everyone understand where the funeral would be, which we understand at this point is going to be in Eastern Cape. And of course, the family is still working around that. Now, we also, whilst we were standing here and speaking to the family, we also got a chance to be able to speak to the family. Now, Umalume was almost brought into tears. This is how difficult this has been for the family. This is a 14-year-old. And we have heard from the family explaining to us that this child, which is Likhona, had already lost her mother. And so this is very difficult. This is the point where they're supposed to be facing and supposed to be supporting her, and now they lose her too. So it is a very, very difficult time for this family, Kuli, and also for Granny, who has been there with her for a very long time, to have to see her in that state. She herself has also been having a very difficult time to sort of accept what has taken place. But Malum is saying to us, we have no choice. That was his words, saying we have no choice but to accept what has taken place, but we want justice. Now, if you listen to that statement, Koli, very important for the family to see justice. They're saying that they want to see the people that were behind this incident, why their 14-year-old was murdered in this way. I mean, she was 14, and they went on to explain the kind of person, describe the kind of person she was, talking about the fact that she really loved school. One of her things that she really enjoyed was school. They spoke about the fact that as a child, she will always have mistakes, but she was a loving person. She was a respectful person, a very happy person in the family, and that's what they are going to remember her as, and that's what they will continue to have memories of her as, that kind of person. Now, we know that all of this will probably be discussed behind us, especially with the deputies that are now speaking to the family, how important it is for this family to be able to get the closure that they actually need. Oli.
Yeah. Nqobile, as we wrap up the conversation very briefly on this, I just want to touch on the police delegation, because when they announced that they would be coming through, there's something that they mentioned there as part of the police units. And so they're saying that there will be the Family Violence, Child Protection and Sexual Investigations Unit that is led by Major General Lukhele, whom we understand is the component head of this unit. And then there will also be representatives from the SAPS occult unit that will be present there. Are you aware of representative or members of this unit, the occult unit, that could be present there tonight? And why would they be such a unit, that specific unit, present there today?
Well, Xoli, I think it was best to find out from the Deputy of National Police that's going to be here to give us details about that unit. But we know that the area in itself, Xoli, has been struggling with the crime. Now, earlier on, we were able to speak to some of the leadership in this area, and they've spoken about how many rapes that they've dealt with in this area. They've also spoken about the gender-based violence that they've dealt with. One of those cases that you will remember, Xoli, is Tehofatso Bule was also found within this area, just 3 minutes walk apart from where you found Likhona Fose, who was also found having passed away. So this community has already spoken about the fact that there's no police visibility, that they want police visibility, that they want more police to be on the ground. So one would imagine that this would mean that there's a lot more investigation that needs to take place. There are also questions around what happened before she passed away, if she was raped or not. And these were some of the questions that the community has asked about because of the fact that there's so many cases that they have dealt with in this case. But we are going to ask the Deputy Deputy Police Minister, once she speaks to us, just the relevancy and the importance of this unit occult that is going to be here, and what is their work that is going in relation specifically with this case.
Madlala, thank you very much for the time being. We're going to leave it there, but we're certainly going to take you back to Roodepoort as soon as the police delegation is able to talk to members of the media.